People often say, hey, look at the emissions of internal combustion engine vehicles. They aren't really that bad, are they? They don't cause that much cancer or death or problems, do they really? Well, actually, it's a lot worse than you think. And the US government is well aware of what's going on. I've been noticing this on a lot of forums. People are rigging their cars up to basically get around emissions regulations. And this is causing massive pollution problems in cities all around the world. It's become common, very, very common. In fact, the United States government has now sued many businesses. eBay is now on the hook for apparently selling 400,000 emissions cheat devices, basically enabling people to coal roll people. This is, in my opinion, a pretty big indictment on the true pollution we're seeing from internal combustion engine vehicles, because these vehicles pollute probably 5 times more than the advertised claims from the manufacturers. Not that it's the manufacturer's fault that people are doing this stuff, but this is what happens in the real world. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. Great to see you. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Sam Evans. You're watching the Electric Viking. The United States government, basically the government, are suing eBay for selling defeat devices and violating the Clean Air Act. Now, when you buy an internal combustion vehicle, it basically has a filter on it, and that prevents a lot of the soot and the emissions from coming out of the exhaust. But many people, we're talking millions and millions of people worldwide, will remove that device because it does restrict power a little bit, just a small amount, probably a couple of percent. And people believe, well, there's no need for this crap, take it off. So they do. They put on big exhaust, they remove the actual filters, and as a result, the emissions from millions of cars worldwide are far, 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 far worse than what we actually thought. So the US Department of Justice has sued eBay for unlawfully selling and distributing hundreds of thousands of products in violation of the Clean Air Act. And this is not like eBay didn't know about this. They were told, they just ignored it. They wanted to just keep on selling stuff that they shouldn't have been. And in my opinion, if you were to sell, say, some drugs, recreational drugs that people use that don't, well, we don't have any recorded deaths for those recreational drugs, say something like SARMs. I mean, those things may not be awesome, but they're better than drinking alcohol, and they're better than fitting these devices to your vehicle. So as far as I'm concerned, eBay has willingly, knowingly broken the law in a way that's actually pretty bad. The complaint was filed on behalf of the Environmental Protection Agency, or the EPA, and alleges the company offered for sale or caused the sale of around 350,000 or more aftermarket defeat devices which defeat motor vehicle emissions controls, a violation of the CAA. For anyone who slept through the Dieselgate scandal, carscripts.com says the government says defeat devices increase emissions of carbon monoxide, nitrogen oxides, particulate matter, and non-methane hydrocarbons. These harm public health. In fact, they're proven carcinogens that definitely do cause cancer. We're seeing what are we seeing? This incredible alignment, right? We found out within the last 7 days that cancer in people under the age of 50 has increased by 70%. 70% increase over the past 15 years. If that were to happen again, then there'll be like a 50% chance you're going to get cancer before you turn 50 years old. If that doubling happens again, which it very well could. That's absolutely disastrous. And this is part of the reason why it's happening. The US says that these devices harm public health, impede efforts by state and local authorities to plan for and attain air quality standards. And they're being used in conjunction with removing filters, like I mentioned before, which is really making the cars far worse than they're advertised. The lawsuit is asking the court for injunctive relief to prevent eBay from engaging in further violations of the Clean Air Act. The government is also seeking civil penalties, which could presumably be worth millions. To me, it's just ludicrous that eBay would continue to do this. They've been doing this for years. And in fact, Detroit firms or businesses were fined $10 million for aftermarket emissions defeat devices as well. So basically these things are being sold all across the United States. But unfortunately, it's not just confined to the United States. They're being sold massively. There's a lot of Australian rednecks and bogans here that buy this kind of stuff and think that it's going to give their car magical superpower performance. It doesn't. It increases their car performance by a very, very small amount, but they think that it's going to make them sound noisy and loud and exciting. And honestly, I think you can get over that stuff when you're about 16 and kind of grow up and take part in the real world. But anyway, US Attorney Breon Peace for the Eastern District of New York said eBay's sale of emissions control defeat devices, pesticides, and other unsafe products poses unacceptable risks to our communities disproportionately impacted by our environmental and health hazards. Together with our partners, this office will vigorously enforce federal law against those who conduct and endanger the public health and the environment. Those sentiments were echoed by Todd Kim of the Justice Department's Environment and Natural Resources Division, who said, laws that prohibit selling products that can severely harm human health and the environment apply to e-commerce retailers like eBay, just as they do brick and mortar stores. What is probably worse about these devices as well, guys, is you've seen the kind of idiots that do this, right? They're pretty low IQ individuals, people who use these emissions defeat devices. I'm sure there's people that are subscribed. They're probably going to unsubscribe today as a result of me making these comments, calling them idiots, but they're idiots because most of those people who do this, you know, they're the same idiots. They sit there with their car idling for 10, 20, 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours. They just sit there idling their car indefinitely with their window down. I've seen this. I've seen this so many times. In fact, I have a few people who I've been kind of friends with who do this, and I've said, mate, you realize how stupid that is? You're sitting there breathing in these massively toxic fumes from your own car for about an hour or more with your window down, and you've actually made your car have far worse emissions than the average car. Yeah, and you're running a diesel vehicle. You're basically poisoning yourself to death. These people just aren't smart enough to work out that actually this is a really, really dumb thing to do. Besides defeat devices, eBay is accused of selling unlawful pesticides and prohibited products containing restricted chemicals. The government alleges eBay violated the Federal Insecticide, Fungicide, and Rodenticide Act by unlawfully distributing or selling at least 23,000 unregistered, misbranded, or restricted use pesticide products in violation of a stop sale order the EPA issued to eBay in 2020 and amended in 2021. It really surprises me that eBay is dumb enough to not just go, okay, if the government's saying we can't do it, there's a stop sale order, we're going to stop the sale of it. It's actually not that difficult for eBay to prevent the sale of these products on their platform. And the guys, they're just not bright enough to work out it's not worth it. They're going to be fined more money than what they would have ever made from selling these devices. Well, I think they are anyway. We'll see what happens. It's going to be interesting to see how all this plays out, as eBay is obviously a middleman, but the truth is eBay is partly responsible. Basically, they are profiting from the sales of these illegal products, and they can't pretend like they didn't know. They were told about this for years, and they just continued to ignore it. So, you know what? eBay, I know their sales have gone down in the US. Look at their stock price. It's horrendous. The price to earnings ratio for eBay is one of the worst of any stock in the world. And I think that the reason for that is investors have very little confidence in the company. This might be one of the reasons for that. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching.